everyone. Welcome to the 420 Smoke Room. Today our guest is the world third judge, Judge Strands. I said it wrong. I knew I would. So, Lord. So welcome, Judge. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. We are live on Relevant as well. For those of you watching the replay, definitely tune in over there. I wanted to kind of bring you on and talk about your platforms and how you became the judge and a little bit about that and what that entails. If you kind of want to start off a little bit about your journey, like how did you get involved with that? Like how did that become a thing for you?
So the World 3 Judges is something that there was three of us founders, and we were all big connoisseurs, and we were just doing this every day. And people would bring us weed all the time. We were doing this for years. Hunted a whole bunch of different grows and graded everything for every one of the years. And watched a show one day, and it inspired us. So we just started recording what we were doing. And then it just kind of grew from there. Now we've accumulated a bunch more judges, and things are just going at a crazy speed now. We got a series coming out this year, all about graded cannabis.
Oh, wow. So what type of, congratulations on that as well, by the way. What type of cannabis things do you judge? If for people who've never heard of you, like you want to give them an idea of what type of events you've been the judge at, maybe give them a little bit rundown of your resume so far.
Okay, so I'm not gonna go through everything because it's
just the basics.
Super long list, but I'll start back at August of 2021.
Okay.
At the beginning of August of 2021, I was a judge at the Rainbow Farms Full Spectrum Cup. At the end of August, I was a judge at the Clio Cultivators Cup.
I like that one as well. I like going out there to a lot of their events that they have there. That one's located in Clio, Michigan.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You said Clio, Michigan, or Clio or Clio?
And then in September, I graded the 420 Golf Island Connoisseur Cup. And in October, the World 3 Judges threw on a competition. It was our second annual competition for the license market.
Okay.
And we did that up in Traverse City. Wow. And November, I graded the Harvest Cup in Pawpaw.
Okay.
And December, mid-December, I graded the Chronic Cooking Competition in Benton Harbor. And towards the end of December, I graded the Hareem Rosin Cup in Grand Rapids area. And then in January, I graded the 420 Sesh hash competition in Detroit.
You've been really getting around.
Yeah. Oh, we got so much more in store. So
that's really exciting. I love new and inventive things and following people's journey and seeing how well it's evolving for them as they're transforming and taking off. It's a beautiful thing to see.
We're gonna be grading a competition next month. They're giving out $5,000 for the best caregiver flower in Michigan.
Oh wow! I need to sign up for that one for sure. So, if somebody wanted to follow you or sign up for one of these events that you take part in or that you're throwing yourself, how would they find you? Where would they find you?
Okay, on Instagram, I'm Judge_Strains, and on Facebook, I'm Judge Strains.
Okay. And
you can also follow our website or go to our website, which is world3judges.com. We also got a World 3 Judges page on Facebook, and we also got a World 3 Cup page, which shows a lot of different events.
So that's where they can really follow what's coming forth in the future, perhaps?
Yep.
Okay, I definitely will be staying tuned. So at this point, what would you say about your experience being a judge? What does that? I mean, I'm sure you got to get super high. So how does a judge cannabis? What are the qualifications? How do you determine one pot is better than the next? What are your classifications?
Well, I think the most important, one of the most important, is the flavor. But it's a combination of everything. You want to see the trichomes on it. You want to the look. The look is important. The smell is important, and the high is important.
A, B, and C,
But,
correct.
but the taste is super important. I think that you can have something that looks really nice and smells really nice, but when you go to smoke it, sometimes it just don't taste nice.
Yes, I totally agree. I'm a taste chaser connoisseur, as I would say, because I can look at some really good weed and it can smell awesome, and when I taste it, it tastes like ass or trash or garbage or something else. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's not quite good. Um, but it looks phenomenal. You know what I mean? But then when you taste it, it's like, whoa, I'm straight. I'll pass on that one. Next, like so I really do get that because I'm a big chase taster, especially when I'm spending my money on valuable bud. I want it to be the best that I can get for my money. So that's awesome. So who would you say recently, like obviously you're judging these and win. So which companies, if you had to like recommend companies to Michigan, what companies have won some of these cups that you would definitely say, oh yeah, that's the place to go?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, and
Well,
if
for
you're
your
looking for like
personal
hash
opinion,
rosin,
like overall, if you had to, choose somewhere where you would shop to go get your bud because you feel like they have really one of the best buds in Michigan, where would you choose, or what are the top couple that you would choose based upon the
brand,
ones you've judged?
brands or places.
A or B, both, whatever way you feel fit to answer. It could be both or a combination.
Okay. Smokies extracts. They're premium rosin. So fiery. They're killing the game out here.
And where are they located? Like what city or part of Michigan?
You can find them all around Michigan.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what city they're from.
No, that's fine.
Archive. So Archive is another one. They're an actual licensed company, and they got provision centers. They got one in Adrian, and the other one's on the west side of the state somewhere.
Okay.
And they're you can find them at a lot of other provision centers too. For Archive, and as far as anything that's in metric, that's in the licensed markets and provision centers and whatnot, that's going to be the firest rosin that I've came across for sure. They just won first place in one of our competitions.
That's amazing. I'm sure that the type of job you have is awesome. People only dream of. I can get high for a living. That would be awesome to be the judge of all the cannabis and just have it constantly loaded.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing some traveling this year, so
yeah, give us a little sneak peek of what's in store.
In April, we're gonna be making a trip to Missouri to grade one of their cannabis cups out there.
Okay.
It's a statewide cannabis competition that they do, and they've been doing it for a couple years.
How did they select you as a judge? Like, how does that work?
I don't know. They were following me on social media. I reached out, and yeah, just kind of set it up.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited to hear because I definitely want to see you continuing to judge across the map, nationally and globally.
We're also scheduled in September to go to Oklahoma. They got the Oklahoma Cannabis Awards music festival that's going to be there.
Okay.
We're going to be great judges at that also.
That's
also got a couple things that will be going on in a couple competitions in New York and in New Jersey that are going to be coming up this year.
You got your hands full. It seems like you already got the year planned out in your calendar for all these cups and judges. I'm definitely looking forward to maybe participating in some of the events perhaps in the future. I've been following you for quite some time, and I definitely see I see what you're doing, and it's fabulous. I definitely see that when you're judging these cannabis cups. I do follow some of the companies in the past, and you're picking good companies. Like I definitely feel like good quality bud, and you know what you're looking at, you know what you're doing. I definitely got to give you your props because I like it. I like everything you got going on.
Thank you.
So, if
Yeah.
you wanted to give us a little bit more information about this reality show or this episode that your series you're discussing a little bit, I'm a little interested to see what that'll be about and where it'll be at and like when we could find it.
Okay, so we still don't got a release date. We're still working on the series.
Okay.
So it's not going to be anything live. So what we've been doing is we've been accumulating video for over 4 years now, and we're cropping, editing. We're spending weeks on each episode. So
kind of like a documentary of the past, working your way up to the present, and then moving forward.
It's not going to really be a documentary. It's going to actually be a show. Okay. So we've been accumulating video of different events, different grows, whether it be home grows, caregiver grows, licensed grows, labs, processing, solventless, and non-solventless. Mm-hmm. We've been just accumulating a lot of video. Then the main part of the show is us grading. So we grade all these different cannabis. We go to these different spots. We accumulate cannabis. We come back and we grade. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of how the show's laid out. So we're gonna have it on our website for sure, and that's world3judges.com when we release it. But we're trying to get some play on a national platform.
That would be amazing, definitely. Even reaching out or possibly getting it like to Netflix or some form of network would be awesome. Yeah. Sure. So I got a question. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get their marijuana perhaps into these cups, but also they want it lab tested and they don't really know the way to go about it? How would you recommend someone getting it lab tested before bringing it to a competition to get judged?
Well, you can always go to a lab. Anyone can go to a lab. I can tell you a couple of really good labs to go to, one on the east side and one on the west side. On the east side, it's Alco Labs, ABKL, and they're really clean lab, really accurate results. And on the west side is a Spot, also a really clean lab with really accurate results. Now there's competitions too, like the Clio Cultivators Cup. With those competitions, what they do is everybody enters in their entry, and as part of the competition, they take and they send it out to the lab before it goes to any of the judges. So it goes to the lab, make sure everything passes, cleared, and then everyone that enters gets a copy of the report for what they entered.
Okay.
So they can also get a lot of breakdowns and get the information for the lab tests. It's included with the competition.
I like that.
That's happens to do it individually,
Yeah, so it seems like they take each person, they give you accurate numbers, and they're confirming that that's the marijuana and that they didn't just bring this marijuana for a previous test or something that they've done. This is the actual bud.
And that no one was grown with poisons or anything,
Yeah, that way they know what you're consuming is fully safe for you as the judges as well. And then the potency and what level and bracket it should be on based on the lab work and what you're expecting when you're judging it. That makes it a lot easier too, I'm sure. So that way you're not just like winging it, hoping that you know what I mean. That when it is tested, that it's picked to be the level of what you expected. That's amazing. I like it. At this point, what would you recommend as far as someone trying to brand themselves or before they come to the like? I know that you have to have like your whole setup before you get entered into these competitions, but with marijuana being so recently recreational legal, and we're entering a new phase of the legal operations. We have a lot of new people that are just trying to hop into the scenery, and they're not really quite sure how it all works, and they think, oh, okay, well, good, in April I'll sign up, and then they get to the sign up and they're like, oh, well, you have to have this and this prior. Would you be able to give a little glimpse on what some of those qualifications would be so they could get themselves more prepared for this year's competitions?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, anyone can enter in a competition. If you got that fire, you can enter it. But you know what it does with a brand is it really gets you the feedback. I mean, if you want to enter it just as a person, people, if you win, people will know who you are as a person. But if you enter it as a brand and you got your brand around, you got labeled stuff, you know, you got different apparel,
Mm-hmm.
and then that brand gets known, and it starts to build up something for the future. When people go around and they see that brand, they're like, "Oh, that was fire."
Definitely, you're right on that. And that's why I always recommend the brand part. That's kind of why I brought that up, because it's so important that we brand ourselves correctly if we're going to try to make this into our future. You know, it's important to do it the right way. You know, it's more, you know, more important, I feel like, to have it branded than to have it independently.
Yeah.
So, who has really been like someone that's helped you through all of this, or been your support system, or someone you go to for guidance? Do you have someone that you would kind of like to give like a thank you for the things they've helped you do along the way or been supportive along the way?
I mean, I got thank yous for a lot of people. There hasn't been one person. What we're doing is something that no one else has done. So I mean, there's not like anyone that's shown us the ropes or anything. But we got a team of people that are constantly helping us and constantly networking with and constantly helping us grow.
That's awesome. I was just wondering, did you want to give like a shout out or a general thank you to them in like a preference, like in general, or?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's a long list. I got a long list of stuff.
Well, you're more than welcome to, you know, to give a shout out to a few
I
of those
mean,
people
I
at the
mean, it
top of
might it
that
might just
list.
be better to just do a
Yeah, a
general
general.
overall.
Yeah, but I know I definitely, it's important to give recognition and recognition to those who have been there for you. So I definitely want to give some time, a little bit of time to that portion.
Yeah. Um, I mean, Corey the Bud Tender, Dank Frank, uh, DJ Mark G, DJ Cool Breeze, Sean Dada. Uh, Man, it just goes on and on. I could sit here for days and just name off people that have helped the cause and have contributed cocoa extracts. Um, there's just so many, you know.
Well, definitely. I'm glad that
So,
you have
so
a good
many
support
vendors, you
system.
know, that have contributed and stayed with us, follow us, you know, and shout out to all the vendors, you know.
For sure, because without them,
Even when we're not working with events on, um, everything that we've been doing, everything that we're doing in the future, Slim Strands, uh, there's a, I mean, it's really unlimited. We got so many people that we network with and do a lot to help us out, and do a lot to help them out also.
that's awesome. I definitely like the support system and the fact that, you know, it's there. It's important. I feel like especially in anytime you're trying to, you know, do what you're doing. So I got a question about other people who are considering trying to get into that aspect of trying to become a judge in any of marijuana or cannabis in their states where they're at, where they're throwing different events. Any key of advice or anything you would recommend for them to, you know, any positive encouragement there on what you feel?
Um, yeah, I mean, if you got an ambition for it, just reach out. You know, reach out to people throwing on the competitions. Just let them know.
For sure, self
That's
marketing is important. Putting yourself out there, knocking on some doors, Making those rounds are important to be at the seat.
Yep, and I mean, once you start doing it enough too, you start to build an outlook around you that's, I mean, just what you've been doing.
For sure. I feel like I'm at that point in my own establishments with everything I've been working on, and I have a lot of things going on right now behind the scenes that are definitely going to be launching soon, and I'm kind of really excited for as they all come together to make like this whole beautiful picture with each entity somehow helping the other entity. I've got a lot going on, and I'm definitely excited about the future, and I'm excited about everything you have going on, and I definitely can't wait to get some of my cannabis in some of these competitions. Definitely feel like in the future I'll be linking up with you as you're doing events and trying to figure out how can I participate.
Yeah.
For sure. So what about as far as Michigan? I know it's been hard here in general with all of our legalization issues and how we've over the years like it's here, but like we still have issues in general. Have you ever dealt with any personal issues in that form or any form of the legalization issues, or have you run into any brick walls with like the rules or regulations or hindering anything like?
Yeah. I mean, there's constantly, uh, the rules and regulations trying to regulate cannabis, and I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. The people voted it in, and the system was here for so long medically before the recreational was even here. I think it's overregulated right now, and yeah, there's companies out there that are trying to regulate it even more, even make it criminal again, to where they can make more profits. These are cannabis companies.
You're absolutely right. It's like they're for us but against us at the same damn time. And they're also
really,
trying to
really sad.
They're trying to take away our grow rights here in Michigan as well because they want us to be able to have to shop at the recreational dispensaries or medical dispensary. If they take away our grow options, then it forces us to seek medication elsewhere. So I'm really concerned to see how that plays out in the future.
And something to get clear too is they're not just going after caregiver grows. They're also going after home grows. They've already drafted a form. They just haven't submitted it yet. But they've drafted something already for home grows.
Yeah, they're trying to revise the whole.
And yesterday they targeted micro businesses, which is a licensed company, and it's just a small company, and they're making changes to the license, and they're trying to make it where they can. They're fighting it.
So they're amending the micro business license rules and regulations to what we would have to abide by, it sounds like, and they're.
Yeah, so the MRA took it and spent 6 months taking and surveying everything and trying to see about these businesses because that has been the least successful business. So they made some adjustments to it, and the MCMA is trying to fight against it and trying to close out other businesses. They're trying to monopolize the whole industry. They don't want nobody else.
No, and they don't want us home growers involved in any way, shape, or form or dipping in a single way.
The other bills that they entered said they would criminalize cannabis for people that are caregivers, and didn't abide by any regulation, or was out of line on any regulation that it'd be a criminal offense. Where we've been trying so hard, like cannabis isn't a criminal offense anymore. People voted in. We've been fighting this for so long. I mean, it's like a farmer's market. It should be like anything else.
Right, but here's a caregiver is allowed X amount of patients, which means X amount of plants. So it's the next middle step. It's the middleman, I guess you would say, between recreational and the bare minimum. So they're really trying to take out the regular, because as a recreational home grow, you're allowed to have X amount of plants, where as a caregiver, you can exceed that amount per person. So that same amount multiplied by each patient, and if you have your maximum amount of patients, then you have your maximum amount of plants. The caregivers that are maximizing their license are at a different tax bracket, and they're trying to knock them out of the game because that's who's backhandling or pandling most of the operations, and they're really trying to get it to where it's going to be ran a certain way. So the big companies that took over, like hypothetically, not like Marlboro or whoever, are going to continue providing like all those Canada contracts to the dispensaries and the Ohio contracts. But where are the Michigan locals? Where are the residents? Like Detroit has a law where they're trying to make it to where the people that could have dispensaries and all those things first in their cities, for recreational wise, are going to be people that live within the city, and then the outskirts.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're trying to fight for that, where most of the rest of the state is big pharma companies that are, using their cousin's name as a LLC, whatever, to get their hands in the doors, but they're still running the operation, just not legit fully or white faced wise or whatever terminology you want to use, but they're still got their hands in and they're running it. And literally, they like here in Pontiac, I'm sure you're aware of what happened. At the meetings this past November and December and January, are you aware of what the lady did that was running all of that stuff, the mayor?
Yeah.
And how she was scandaling money allegedly, and that then when she was done from being the mayor, she reelected herself as the head of like the cannabis, like board or whatever, and she was allegedly laundering funds. So like, let's say it was a $5,000 application fee for just to get on the list, whether you're on or not. She was pocketing those and not actually applying them and upping it. It's not actually allegedly 5,000. Allegedly, I hear it's only 8,000, and she's dipping 4,000 in, from my understanding. But these are alleged, like these are things I'm hearing through like articles or third party. But as that case continues to unfold, I feel like as she's continuing to get prosecuted for her scandals, that's going to actually open new doors for us here, where a lot of us are fighting to get like mobile dispensaries, or to be able to have smoke shops, or to be able to expand those businesses for that are cannabis into other entities. And I really think that what she did with those applications and how she messed them up would open new doors to where now they would have to allow X amount of like, because she literally discriminated. She chose who kissed her ass enough and paid the highest debt got the license, and those who didn't get one.
And the license fee, the maximum that the city's allowed to charge is $5,000. If they charge any more than that, that right there is criminal.
No, she was charging that as
it's as corrupt as can be,
No, she was charging that to get on the waiting list, not even for the actual application.
What's crazy about that is that she was the one that she put together this planning board. And before she was elected, or when she was her last term, she put together this planning board.
Yeah, and granted herself.
And then when everybody else got elected, they voted them people out. And then she was supposed to nominate a new crowd of people, a new group of people, and she never did. So they just kept them same people in there that she had originally nominated, and they had made some deals with a bunch of different companies. And told them they were guaranteeing their licenses. But
yeah, whoever kissed her ass enough and paid the debt that she asked with the fees that she inquired.
The license choice is usually up to the clerk. So in a city, that should have been the clerk's decision on what's going on and what's not.
If and you that's didn't rehire one and you played the role of them all.
Them two are in a political battle. And I don't know if either one. I mean, either one of them could have got offered compensation from another party or whatnot. But I mean, it sucked.
Well, allegedly compensations was given to the larger companies, and that's how they got their foot in the door, by an additional fee. And I believe it was somewhere around 40,000 or something per additional company. So on top of that 5,000 fee, you had to give her an additional X amount. I think it's like yearly or monthly or something. There was like, it's almost like
okay. So they can do something like that when they grant the licenses. They can do something like that, but they can't do anything over the 5,000 application.
No, but these were things that she wasn't allegedly putting into the books. So like your books will show that you paid 5,000 for your fee, but really you paid 10, 5 to me and 5 to her, something like that. But these are like things. I mean, I have to really do a little more homework on it because it's been a while since I've even got myself caught back up on it. But I do know that there was multiple scandals within the scandals when I was reading, and it kind of sounded like The higher businesses who paid the most money to them out of pocket got their foot in the door and their applications were accepted. And then they left the list open, even not saying it was actually full. So then that 5,000 could constantly revenue. So like if you and I both wanted to apply, we believe we have the option. We give her our 5,000. There was never a chance. And then that 5,000 is non-refundable, and she keeps it.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be refundable had you not, or something like that. So, like, I don't know the exact guidelines or terminology, but that is also another understanding that I was made aware of, that, like, that was supposed to be a refundable portion, but that's a way that they were scandaling it. And then there was additional fees or, like, monthly, like, service, like how you were saying, like, but you said they could do that or something. But I'm not sure on the laws exactly on what they could or couldn't do, but I do know that they were exposing her for her scandals, and it was some people that were pretty high up. So they must have had enough evidence to go public with something of that statue to feel that she obviously was laundering or self benefiting on the side.
Well, I know that her planning commission had approved a company to cultivate and process that was outside of the ordinance zone, and this is where they get the mayor and the clerk got into a big dispute about it. You know, because in the ordinance it says that there's only there's 3 green zones.
Right, so Pontiac. She wasn't on the right district.
Downtown, the Cesar Chavez, and the Walton Boulevard.
Yep.
And then there for dispensaries, they're letting 5 dispensaries that were floating licenses in that city.
Correct.
They could be anywhere that if they got approved, but only in the on the Walton Boulevard and the Cesar Chavez sections are you allowed to process or cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
And this other facility that the planning commission had pre-approved and worked out some kind of deal with a grocery store and all sorts of stuff. I'm not sure what all they had worked out, but they weren't eligible for this license because they weren't in the right zone. And then they end up going to court, and they did some kind of made a judgment, okay, and granted for them to grant that license. And I seen the license went active like a couple days after that, but now it's back offline again.
Okay.
So there is no licenses that are active in Pontiac right now.
No, but there are the cultivation center, like in the other grow ones, and they sent out, like, because it's public knowledge, they sent out actually a list of all the addresses and buildings that were and where they were and what roads and what zones and what buildings classified, and they did send out like a big list of that. I remember a while back ago on one of the podcast shows I went over that, but I don't remember right now exactly like what building was which or which location, but they do show because it is public knowledge. As well. And then the one on Cesar Chavez, they're also turning that like later down. You know how it goes to where the old Walmart was or Kmart or whatever that is, in the old shopping center where SNS and all that used to be behind the bank off of Perry. Oh, Glenwood. It's Glenwood. I said it Cesar Chavez, but it's Glenwood, that road. They're doing that whole school there. They've redone that whole building and they're almost done and it's almost ready to launch, where they'll have like a cultivation school.
Okay.
Yeah, they got a lot going on right now in Pontiac.
No, so that's the one I was just talking about.
Okay, the same one. Okay.
So they got their license for a quick second. I seen it go active right after the.
Yeah, it went active for.
They got a judgment that said that they had to grant the license. But then something else happened, and it was back in court or something.
Yeah, because they're trying to get it approved as a school, not an actual grow shop, like not anything. It's a separate entity from all the other licenses and sets because it's going to be an educational purpose only location. So everything from A to Z in all of their and the whole building and plaza that they purchased that they're in the middle of remodeling is going to be for school purposes. So you'll sign up there, you'll take classes, and then you'll pay X amount for like a lot or a fee. So like, let's say I want an 8 by 12 square foot in the grow room. I will get that much and I'm allowed to grow X amount of plants, and then I'll get graded and educated. And by the time I'm done with like the whole program, I should be a graduate as a master grower or as this or as that based on what classes I'm taking. But there's classes for each one. And then you can also use your independent license, I believe, is what they're trying to do. So let's say you're like, instead of growing your 12 plants at home or as your caregiver at home, you'll grow them here at the school, and we'll do it together until you're able to do on your own, and we'll teach you and guide you until you can fly, type of thing. But these are, again, allegedly, these are things I'm just hearing from other people that are trying to work on it. But it's constantly evolving and changing from what their plans based on what the licensing ruling, because they're trying to get a certain kind of license, and then they would have to work within that license. So in the beginning, they had to get license A to move to license B to like convert it, type of thing, from my understanding.
So
it'll be back out, but when it comes back out, it should be a different type of license now, but it's going to be like an educational license. So now with that one license, they got it, it's up. So now they can grow there, and then they can do their whole business plan, but no school members or no school people, and then submit it. They're learning to the education to get the educational license. So it's still not an actual public license, like whether you can go there or I could go there or a licensed caregiver could go there. It's still not open to the public with the license. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, what they were trying to do in that plaza, they had bought it in the tent of having the school there,
mm-hmm.
a cultivation facility, a processing facility,
yep,
and a provision center.
Yeah, but that's all still educational purpose from A to Z for the school itself.
But no, not the provision center or the processing or cultivation. It was all going to be part. They applied for all these licenses in the city of Pontiac. So
okay.
So they were looking to make that into a business too, and then they were going to build a.
Yeah, but then I thought they got denied because they couldn't have the educational with the.
They were going to build a $2 million grocery store in the parking lot in front of it.
Okay.
So that was part of what they had worked out with the mayor or something with the planning commission.
Yeah, well, that's not going down the same way, and it looks like they've halted on some of their constructions as well. As far as the exterior, I don't know about the internal, but the exterior-wise, it looks like they've halted for a little bit as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure they were fueled up when their license got granted on there, and then once it got pulled again, I'm sure
because you can't do the educational with the profit in the same
building. So they had so much money. I heard that they put like $7 million into that facility already.
Well, that's also with the con, which I think they're part of the scandal later that'll unfold, which is why their shit's on freeze. Because I believe that the mayor was dipping, that was some of her fees, not the actual fees for the business itself, but with her blackmailing. In extortion or whatever terminology allegedly that you want to use, but she allegedly, I believe that was her number one sinker, and she was hook, line, and sinking them as an entity and hyping them up and getting all this money, and then it got blew smoke up their ass, and then when the license got shut down, I think that's what exploded her operation, because they realized we've been got. And I think that's part of the investigation, but I'm waiting for it to come out later in court if it is or ain't, because I have no confirmation in any of that. But at this point, I definitely feel like there still is more that the public isn't fully aware of with the whole operation there, because they had all these plans, they had all these timeline, and money isn't the problem anymore. It seems like the courts and the holdup and the scandal is the problem, and you really can't move forward until we address the scandal, because then we can't reissue licenses until we learn who was right or wrong in the scandal and whether you were legally entitled or not legally entitled. You know what I mean? And then we could reverse and amend whatever lies or fuck ups she did in her extortion, and then pick up where we left off. But until we pick up where we left off, we still have to figure out who was right or wrong before getting to that point. So that means the trial and the dates and the courts with her. Then after that, I think they will address those issues and flatline the licenses and figure out what they can or can't do, and where they weren't, and whether they initially, like, if you played a role in the illegalness in it, they're not going to ever get the license. They're shut down. Like, they're going to have to transfer everything to another party's name and start all over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, like, I feel bad for whoever has that company in that building, that, because they were the mayor or the planning commission kind of gave them the green light and told them that they were going to be licensed. So they continued to drop money into it. Yeah,
because as they were running the scam,
until they found out They weren't getting licensed, and it's been a battle since then.
Well, yeah, as they were running the
I
scam,
heard
they
that
had
they
the
have a
order
lot
to
of money in
give
there.
the license, but once the
And
scam
it's
came
just
to
at
a halt,
standstill,
the people that run the license came to a halt, a red flag was given and cancel operation kind of effect came into mode where it got repoed because it shouldn't have never went through to begin with, but because they were head of operation in their scandal as well, they were easily able to put it through the backdoor option. But that backdoor option went obsolete when you no longer are the mayor or the head of your own committee. You know what I mean? And now you've got real
Yeah.
people doing these jobs and seeing, wait, something's not right here. Why is the book this? Why does it say this? And then, now the real domino effect happens. And I think that once that domino effect is over, that company is going to come back up and be, well and great as long as they followed all the rules on their end. If not, they'll transfer it to somebody else's name and still keep it pushing. But I think it just slowed it down a little bit.
If they don't go bankrupt.
Well, even if I think they're going to go bankrupt. Legitimately, they should file bankruptcy before transferring it to someone else's name, because that would be a way for them to pull equity back out of it before walking away.
See what that does is then they got to start their application process all over again.
Well, they're going to have to do that anyways if the person committed a legal crime, because they're not going to get approved no matter what they do from here forward. So until they transfer, if that was the case, if allegedly they played a role in any illegal activities as well, and they knew and they agreed, or they were on board with the whole scam itself and was aware, then there would be no license given, because you were part of the problem, and maybe obviously charges brought upon you. As long as no charges are brought upon you, then you could probably move forward and we can amend and fix the licenses now to uphold whatever you were entitled to. But you lose all sense of entitlement once you violated the law. So if you really wanted, for them to financially benefit if they did commit a crime, they would have to file bankruptcy, close out everything, and start over. Or play this out and keep the money they have invested and ride it out until it's over, and then they get the proper stuff straightened out. And by the time then, the building will be ready to launch anyways. So it might just, work out perfectly on time anyways for them.
It's kind of a shitty scenario for them, because no matter what, if they restart their license or whatever, they're never going to get that building approved again. That was the only thing that got them to be able to ever do a cultivation or cultivation there, or processing.
Well, I think with the right lawyers, if they did not commit a crime themselves and they don't get any charges brought upon them, that they could counteract, because it's not my fault that your job fucked up. Like, let's just use a hypothetical scenario.
Yep.
It's not my fault. I was given and granted these licenses, you guys, so I'm actually entitled to this. Now, whether you took back that entitlement or not is not my problem. You now have to work with your company's fuck up, and that's where amending those files or issues would come into play later on the same application, and they would be able to write it out. But that's only if you were actually granted something and you were entitled to it. Whether they were committing a crime or not, you weren't aware of any of that. So at this point, you might be able to fight with certain laws or crimes, or get some type of rule bended for your situation based on the statute of everything, and how it depends on how it all unfolds. And that's kind of like where that domino effects and where it all lies. Then they might be able to come back and do, they've got 3 or 4 different options based on how the dominoes fall type of scenarios. But I don't see them going anywhere, even if it means turning the whole building into just an educational center, and we take the other 2 plans and open up at 2 other locations where the grants are accessible. And now we're guaranteed approval, because obviously the city would be recommending we do so and allowing that gateway for us to go that option. So I could see them still opening multiple locations if it doesn't work in the long run, but I don't see them, all the money they've invested in rebuilding that place, I don't see them walking away from it on any aspects. And it's a good location for exactly what they're trying to do. That used to be a truck driving school too years ago, so it's already been registered as an educational building in the past.
Yeah. I know it needed some work. It wasn't.
Oh, hell yeah. It needed above and beyond some work. It needed some Band-Aids, some love, some TLC, maybe a demolition. No.
It probably could use a demolition. What they're pretty much doing is, I'm pretty sure they're pretty much building another building inside of the structure.
Yeah, it sounds like they're tearing everything down one by one and rebuilding it as they go. Since they couldn't physically knock it down, I don't believe they got the approval for that. Pontiac is such a stickler when it comes to this, that, or historical or whatever. You know how they are with all those rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I definitely love talking law with you because I'm so into all of that. And in the future, I definitely want to follow more of what you got going on and maybe re-link up with you. Or I've got a lot of behind the closed doors right now operations going on that are going to be coming to like the front. As I announce them and as they come forth, where I really feel like we could come together and do something in the future for sure together.
Okay. Hey, I do got something else on the MCMA
Okay.
stuff you talked about earlier. If we still got time.
Yeah, we still got time. I have nowhere to be.
Okay. So the safety bills that they tried to enter in and kept saying are so dangerous. So dangerous. This was their thing, that cannabis is hurting people, and that it's so dangerous if you get it from anywhere except from them, because they get all their stuff tested and they pass every test. So what's kind of funny is, like, so shortly after they put these bills in, and there was a huge education that went on with a lot of the representatives from the caregiver side.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of people that have been part of that movement, and give a shout out to Amy Carter and Trish Manson. They've been up there hustling like crazy. Rick Antis, Ryan Bringle. They've been up there educating, because MCMA are telling lies, stuff that's not true, but they're taking and falsifying these facts, or they're using a controlled experiment where it looks in their favor, and they're presenting these to people, and people that don't know much about it are believing it. So it's important that we educate them and let them know what it really is. So we did that. We were able to slow down the process with that, and I'm pretty sure we got enough representatives that are against it now that that's not going anywhere. But what really happened that was really big since then was then there was an undercover operation that the MRA did on a testing lab.
Okay.
And they ended up taking and seizing or recalling all the product that went through that lab. This lab had 2 locations, and in this recall, it was 60% MCMA product that had been failing tests, but the lab was falsifying it.
Yes, actually, I heard about this, and
saying that it passed.
Yes, and I believe that it was in all those wax pens and stuff like that, if I'm correct. And they were saying that some of these have been tested and some of them weren't, and some of them were potenter than they weren't as potent as what they claimed, but they were charging X amount of dollars for a said THC level, but a said THC level didn't reach the actual content of what the product was, like false.
Yeah.
So they're false advertising, like that. There's a lawsuit right now that you can sign up for and get your payback. So let's say I went to the dispensary and I paid $50 for this eighth of no name brand, no names here, but top of the line shelf. So I'm sure you could figure out a couple of those names that are local, are big. So I said $50 an eighth I paid for. You're saying it's 28% THC level. Later it actually tested 16 or something. So you shouldn't. So actually for what you sell at 16 is $25 an eighth. I should have paid $25 an eighth, not 50, for what you actually sold me. But they're lying about not what it weighed, but the percentages of the THC, which is how high you would actually get or not, or how medicated you would be or non-medicated.
So check this out. So this one lab that we're talking about, they were taking and they were doing a different method. So they were giving everybody 10% higher THC than all the rest of the labs in Michigan. But at the same time, they were also taking and passing stuff that should have failed for mold.
Oh, I heard about that too, and it was making people sick too.
That was the big thing with the recall. So they recalled all this product that went through these 2 labs.
Yep.
And the MRA was taking and testing some of the stuff, and they had the test results back from the main lab where they did the investigation.
Yeah,
The
that's kind of why I
secondary
quit going to the
lab,
dispensaries.
they only had a couple samples that were tested already from there, and there was some that failed, but there wasn't like not all of them failed. It wasn't like enough. So that company tried to sue the MRA, and when they went to the appeals court, the judge granted that everything from uh, the northern lab should be released and be able to be sold. So the MRA came back with the test results that they got with a bunch of that product failing from that lab also, and submitted it to the judge. And the judge said that his ruling stands and that it's good to go back out to dispensaries.
Sounds to me like somebody took something type of bribery or
So,
something, because if it wasn't
so
qualified,
that kind of, if their whole safety thing, you know, that they're trying to put on them cause to take and restrict them laws to go backwards and make cannabis illegal again, and the way that they're trying to do it, I mean, it's crazy.
yeah, they're using the loophole in every law that they made legal to us to also come back and get those that they selectively choose to bend the rules with. They have a loophole, and they'll work you in that loophole when they don't want you to reach a certain statute, so they can still monopolize you and have control of monopoly, so no one can actually fully take over monopoly. As long as I only let you have X amount of pieces on the board at all time, it doesn't matter what your generated revenue is, you can never expand.
So now yesterday they started their war against other license companies. First, they're going after the micro businesses. And they're going to start going after other licenses too. Yep. They want to dominate the whole scene.
Yep, like I said earlier, they want it just where you go to a shop.
They want to make the most profit, and they don't care how many patients suffer.
No, because we have to, in their mind, they have to change the rules to the game.
Any of Michigan's minor patients?
No, because it's not about the health; it's about monopoly here, and there's a lot of money here on the table that they're discussing, and there's a whole whim of people that are financially benefiting that they're not able to count in monopoly game. So in order to change the order of operation in monopoly is to seize all the middlemen in any way, shape, or form. We allowed them to this far because they helped, by letting you give a taste of the medicine allowed you to approve things and get the laws where we wanted them. Now that we've bait, lined, hooked, and sinked you, now we're going to repo those laws that we made it so easy for you, but only keep the ones that value our monopoly. So we're going to change the rules of the game now and revise those initial bids and amend them. And when we do, we'll just take out the things that don't fit for what our goal is. And our goal is to financially benefit without the middleman. So that means home growers, caregivers, and non-licensed companies or smoke shops that aren't fully legit or anything of those natures. All they want is you to go to a recreational dispensary or a regular medical dispensary to be able to purchase any form of product in any way, shape, or form. They don't want any street guy, middleman, home grow, caregiver, patient, none of that. And it's not that they'll go without their medicine, because it's just like this. Let's go back to the old days. Your drug dealer gets raided. What happens? You wake up. You want your fucking weed. What do? You go to the next one, right? And that's exactly what they're hoping to happen. And they're going to be right there with the door open, ready for you to knock with great promos and deals. So you'll want, come on, flooding through the door, buddy. So the minute that your regular suppliers are no longer available, you'll be forced to revert to what the next program is available.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're really trying to do. And it's literally like taking out like a chess game where you're taking out all the pawns first, because we were just pawns in this establishment. And now that we've done our jobs as pawns, it's time for us to go. We helped get it legal to the points. We've helped get companies where they're at. The small-time growers helped fill the dispensaries while we were in middleman laws. We were allowed 2 years ago to sell to dispensaries from our caregiver grow. We are not allowed now. So how did that go from legal there to non-legal? And when did this rule or law get? Oh, I know when it got amended. I know how. But the point of the matter is it did. And every rule along the way that is they're taken out from over the next 2 years, you'll constantly see them rebuild the whole game to the monopoly, to where they're the ones benefiting and we're the ones as customers, and we stay as custos and they stay as distributors.
We just gotta keep fighting against it.
Oh,
The
definitely. And I've
only
got
thing more
alliances
powerful
across the
than money.
map.
I'm sorry.
No, go
The
ahead.
only thing more powerful than money is numbers of people.
Yes, and that's where I work with the National Human Solutions Program, and they're out there advocating every day. They're also trying to get people out of jail who are in jail for marijuana. They just got a lifer out, and they're doing a documentary with them right now. They were just on a couple different podcast shows that they run over there, along with Cup of Joe.
Michael Thompson.
I don't know his off the name because I have so much going on, but I know what he looks
Thompson
like.
just released they just released a video about Michael Thompson's incarceration.
Yes, yeah, I believe it's the same guy.
He was incarcerated, I believe, 25 years.
Yep, and we're working with him one-on-one. I've just got so much going on.
He got his own brand out now.
Yep, so they're doing a lot with them, and they're trying to do a documentary with them, and they've got a lot. They've helped get him out. They helped fund the operation. They helped advocate for him while they were trying to get him out and stuff. And they've done a lot of things. If that's the same guy, don't quote me, but on the guy that they just got out that was serving life in prison, and I believe he's already served 25 years. I believe we are talking about the same guy. But there also were several others, like the founder of that organization, Joe. He was incarcerated for marijuana for 6 years while fighting a case after getting raided. Another guy was on Glenn. He's been raided and arrested. Most of the people that are in the organization have used the organization for themselves at one point in time and then became a member because it's a great organization and they do wonderful things and they help you through your support and they help try to legalize it across the map. They do all kinds of events, fundraisers, donations. They get funding. They're pretty big. So it's awesome what they've got going on. And I'm trying to open a Michigan chapter possibly. No, go ahead. What'd you say?
These groups and associations are so important.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. Do you know who Candace Dyer is?
They come together in numbers, and they help organize it. They help get it presented to where it needs to be. But I mean, it's awesome with these organizations. They help us help do whatever. So I mean, it's all about coming together.
It sure is. And I definitely think the support and communication with a good, your circle of people that you're networking with is so important when you're advocating for rights and freedom of marijuana. Now, we also work with like the Cannabis Care Act in Texas, Gift of Life in Texas, and a couple other agencies. We're trying to really get across and trying to help legalize it more across the map or figure out what can we do to advocate. So if you at any time have like anything you're doing to try to help make it more legalized or fighting for the rights in any way, definitely hit me up. We're looking to help other ventures or continue to expand or, help you with your cause.
So now with them taking and putting that moldy product back into the dispensaries and selling
that's not good.
That pretty much took their whole safety issue off the board. So the other bills are pretty much they're on the back burner right now. I don't think anything's happened with them. But what just did happen, and this is something that the MCMA is backing this, but it was presented by the DOJ, or drafted by the DOJ, and it's to take and make it to where cannabis is illegal again while you're on probation, on bond, or if you're a vet in any kind of government program or got mental health problems in any kind of mental health program. They're trying to make it to where cannabis is illegal for use. And what happened in, I believe it was 2020, there was a case, Michael Truey, and he took and he fought for his right while he was on probation to medicate with medical marijuana that he had a valid card for. And he had Michael Kamor as his lawyer, and they took it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they won. So as it stands right now, it's no longer up to the judge's discretion whether they allow someone to smoke medical marijuana while they're on probation or on bond. If they got a medical card, and then they're just able to, The state issued them a medical card. I mean, that's what the Supreme Court ruled.
Right.
It's been that way.
I actually went through the experience in the beginning when it first was getting legal, where somebody I knew was on probation, but they had to get it approved by the judge, like you were saying, in order for them to utilize it while on probation. They did get the approval only because they aided it with a doctor's note. Instead of just asking the judge, they also got a doctor's note. So for those of you who are still in that state at your, of the legalization process where your judges have to approve whether you can or can't, definitely get a doctor's note, because the judge really can't go against the doctor's order. And if the doctor's already ordered it and you have a prescription, like a written letter to whom it may concern or to the judge directly, stating like your reason for usage, and if she has any questions, comments, or concerns, contact me here, that'll work. But later it is legal to where like you don't need it, like you said. It's just anybody who has their their card or whatever can still consume marijuana while on probation. They don't even test it now, even on parole here. They used to test when you were on parole, but you like parole and probation, you couldn't, like it was still divided. But even with that new law that you're discussing, even parolees now don't have to test for marijuana.
So yeah, with that new bill that they presented, would take and turn that all back around. So yeah,
they're trying to reverse it, is what you're saying, and repo it and take it back.
So with that judgment that the Supreme Court did, it also allows people that are in prison with a medical card to be able to use cannabis. Now,
really?
They won't be able to smoke it in prison, but they'll be able to use it in other forms.
So they can get like gummies or things or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that works.
I want to look into that, because that is amazing, and that is definitely something I would like to figure out how to, maybe even to become the provider for a service of that sort. I would love to help inmates be able to get their hands on some form of cannabis in any way, shape, or form that the government would approve for them while incarcerated, to help them through their medical needs while they're incarcerated.
That's really awesome.
That'd be something, because right now I've got a lot of behind the door things, and if I could figure that out as well, attaching that would be easy.
But right now that's under the gun with this new bill that they just entered.
Yes, I am excited though, like the positive doors that are opening, but with every positive comes a negative, and I feel like they give us a little as they take 5. They gave us but took 2 other things.
So what happened with these laws is when we first voted them in, the people voted it in. Now what they're trying to do is convince the legislature that if they get 3/4 of a vote, that they can change it. Oh, even though the people voted it in, they can take and make amendments to it and change it, and that's what a lot of these bills are shooting for. So I think if we can get 28,
that has been there,
27 or 28.
That's been like that for a while, to my understanding. For an amendment,
this bill takes and goes nowhere. So
right, you can put a bill in, and if a percentage of the House agrees that a portion needs to be amended, as long as the percentages exceed X amount, then you can amend the bill.
Yeah, it has to be 75%.
Yeah, I didn't know the exact numbers, but I do know that is accurate. But the thing is with that is the amendment, like you have to have so many people on board, and that's where a lot of the knowledge in these meetings that they're not making public, that are supposed to be public, would come into play. Like us as the people having the information while it's vital, not after the fact.
Yeah.
I feel like we're not properly informed here in Michigan of what the next move is, but we're told what the move is once it's done. But there's no education process beforehand, or ways or opportunities for us to get hands-on and more involved in those options. And I definitely think that's where finding an advocate, like someone who's out here at the courthouse regularly is. I know you mentioned a couple associates that are actually doing that. That comes where maybe that, or maybe coming up with a petition. I know you can petition amendments, but it just depends on someone coming together to throw the right order of operation in the mix that has a plan. And I definitely think petitions and help so many ways, from laws to amendments to, petitions change so much. And I definitely think some forms of petitions, even if they try to amend, we should be able to fight back their amendments. I know there's an order to it. We just got to figure out what the hell that is.
So the best way that we found to fight it is that we need, I think it's either 27 or 28 these representatives to vote no against it. and it throws his bill out. So what we need to do is we need to educate these representatives, and there's a lot of people working hard to do that. And with the safety bills, they did a big dinner, invited out all sorts of representatives to a secure location, and it was all about education. And it was real stuff, not the stuff that the MCMA is trying to put up there.
Right.
Like it was about patient care and the effects it has with cancer and the different endocannabinoid system, all the science and all the health stuff that is there. Everybody gets the endocannabinoid system, and the cannabinoids thrive. They like help level out so many things in your body. It's one of the healthiest things they found.
You're absolutely right. Most of my diseases are endocannabinoid, like that the endocannabinoid system, or whatever, however you say the endocannabinoid system. Yeah, that system. Most of my diseases are in that system, and instead of taking pharmaceutical meds, I take cannabis, and I definitely feel because of those receptors, that the cannabinoid receptors, that whole system in the endocannabinoid. I can never say the word. The endocrinology.
Cannabinoid?
No, not the cannabinoid. I'm talking about the actual system of like where it has like your hormones in it. It has like several other organs, and it's an endocrinology system and then your cannabinoid receivers are also within that system. And
yeah. So what it is an endocannabinoid system.
Yes. And most of the diseases.
So the endo mean is like a word that's like self from within.
Yes.
It's like from another.
Yeah, I'm fully aware because I have a lot of the endo diseases. Like I have endometriosis, I have the adenomyosis, the osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, thyroid. I can go on and on. There's more: gastroparesis, intercystitis, fibromyalgia. I can go on, and like most of them are still within that entity, like from the gastroparesis to the irritable bowel syndrome, and like the whole hormone and productive system, the ovaries and cystis and stuff like that are also in that same system later with the hormones. And most of those all work. So I feel like the cannabinoids and the marijuana helps most of those way more than pharmaceuticals with no damage, because that's where the cannabinoids are meant to go. And all of my diseases are in that area that it's perfect. Like I literally don't take a single pharmaceutical medication.
And not only does it help that particular thing without doing any other damage, but it's probably helping a lot of other things in your body that you're not even realizing. And with everything else, it balances out, does even more,
No, I definitely feel, because even with my kidney disease, I've noticed a difference over the years. And before I was a cannabis user for, medical purposes, and I was just a random, like, oh, if you have a joint, I might, I'll puff it once or twice, but I didn't really go out and buy it or, supply it. But if I was at a party, I was a casual smoker. Once I switched, I definitely noticed the diagnoses changing, because I would get diagnoses, 3 of them within like 3 or 4 months. It's like every month I have a new diagnosis, or I go to the doctors and I'm trying to look and figure out the underlying cause for this disease, or why is this flaring, or why are my numbers in lab works like this. The next thing you know, we have a new diagnosis, and it's constantly new. I haven't got a new diagnosis in 3 years, maybe, or 4 almost. It's been a long time since I've received a new diagnosis. Now it's just self-managing, where I feel like it stopped the ripple effect or domino effect within the health system, that once this goes wrong in your body, then this goes wrong and that goes wrong. It kind of put it all back together to where it doesn't go wrong anymore, where before I was a spiral effect of, you never know, like by the end of the year, every year I accumulated 10 diseases. Like I feel like I just was adding on to my list instead of fighting them. And no matter how hard I fought with pharmaceuticals, there was always another disease added to the list and another bag of medications for that new disease.
That's why it's so important to fight for cannabis and cannabis freedoms.
Yes, that's why I fight so hard, because it's like I've literally have seen the effects and lived and changed, like through the changes. And I've always, when I was growing up, my parents were cannabis users, but they were like, they'd smoke a joint here or there after work, stuff like that. They weren't really sick or anything like that. So I always kind of looked at it as a recreational high type of drug. But once the science, because I'm a big science person, came out about the cannabis and they made it like medically legal, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to do it like regularly, and I'm going to try to ditch the pharmaceutical drugs and just see, because all of the science was just so key and tuned in when they first launched everything that I was like, there's no way I shouldn't try this. I mean, I've tried everything else that the pharmaceutical companies have given me, and nothing's worked for me as a whole at this point. And eventually it kind of just worked out. And it's like I got rid of all the medications and it worked. And I was constantly waiting to see, like, okay, well, when this flares, I'll add a pharmaceutical back, or we'll wait for the next disease to flare and then I'll treat them as they flare. I don't really have flares, and when I do, I just do holistic ways now at home, or like little remedies or like little tinctures, and I'm good. Like I literally don't go to the doctors anymore. I don't take a Tylenol, I don't take a Motrin, I don't take nothing.
That's awesome. I don't take any kind of pills.
No, but I definitely should be for all the diseases, especially with the lupus. I was on anti-malaria meds. For the thyroid, I was on hydroxychloroquine or whatever. I was on oxybutynin for the bladder. Or, digestive stuff from Reglan to literally, I have a whole duffel bag of medications with the actual dates of when I made that transition. That's in my bedroom closet, that I still have, with all of the bottles with exactly as many pills that were in them from the day I decided to quit. And I literally one day pulled them all out and counted, and there was like over 30 something bottles that I was taking daily.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And this is what they said were okay. And I had to argue with them, and like, you can't mix drug A with drug C, or drug number 10 with drug number 15 can't be interact together, or they have to be 4 hours apart. And like, sometimes doctors are just prescribing you so much pharmaceutical meds that they're not realizing there's a regimen for every disease. Yes. So like when you hear lupus, you think of anti-malaria meds, and there's only 3 of those. So which one of the 3 are you on? But then if you have this disease or that disease, doctors don't realize that you can and can't mix some of those, especially because how many of their patients actually have the same amount of diseases as someone in my statue? There's not very many patients that have more than 30 diseases at one time, to where they're on all of these medications at one time anyways. And there's no clinical trials showing that they all work good together, because clinical trials, A, they don't mix meds, and B, they don't test them on patients that are multiply sick. I get offered clinical trials every time, and how many times I've applied and been denied because you have too many diseases. Well, that's exactly the reason you need to do it, because you're trying to give people this pill on top of all the other pills they already have. You know what I mean? So you need to make sure the regimens together all work and flow together. I've had to call doctors out on multiple occasions, show them an app where I've downloaded, and it says you legally cannot mix these meds. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Well, what else do you want to be on? Nothing. I need to get the hell out of here. Like,
the system's so messed up for
a
lot of doctors. So you gotta find good doctors, because if there's any kind of greed or corruption in them, they go for these companies come in and they invite them out to come out to this this vacation, all comped and paid. They treat them like a king when they go out there. They're like, oh yeah, just kind of sell this, and if you hit this, and we're gonna do this and this and this. It's kind of really crazy.
Like them stupid timeshare invites. Come out for a free trip and see if you're interested in a timeshare. And half the people are like, oh, I'll go, and I won't even get a timeshare. I'll just go for the trip. And they go, and then they're like muscled into all these things for the whole weekend, and they don't even get to enjoy their trip, and yet they didn't even have enough money.
The people are like peeking in their windows and like at the door, they're like trying to go out to your car, and they're like waiting outside your door.
Yeah, no one is
like,
gonna.
I just want to talk to you about this, like.
It's literally a spot for marketing with multiple entities, and you're literally a sit-in duck for marketing for any form of company or entity. From the moment you walk in the door to those places, from the moment you walk out, that's why we offered you a free place. You come here, you sleep, you eat, and you shower. We feed you, and then we pump you with every sale possible. Literally, while you're a sit-in duck. And then we have several free events for you to have downtime while we entertain, while we work up the next sale. And it's literally like an operation. It reminds me of bachelor parties where strippers come in, they perform their job, everyone's all hyped, and then they walk away with all your money, and by the end of the night, you're like, what the fuck happened last night? Yeah. So I got a couple questions actually for you about another law, perhaps, locally. Okay. I'm trying to think of the words without using any names, so make sure you don't mention the name of the business. But are you aware of the location on Telegraph that has been recently raided multiple times and has reopened operation on internet and in building for distributing of marijuana as well as other products like, growing and things like
Yes.
that?
Yep. It's a church, so it's federally protected. It's Native American church.
Yes, I was going to get into the native part about that. So, what do you explain to me what you know about that case particularly? Because I'm really interested to see how this is going to pan out for them. And it seemed like you had a little bit more information. The federally funded church part is a little different for me. I wasn't aware of that. But fill me in on what you
So,
know. Tell us the juice.
so Native Americans, they're not governed by American law. They're governed by Native American law.
Mm-hmm.
So they got their own
No, and I'm
judicial
totally aware of that
system.
because even a friend of mine sells to a dispensary out in the native area, and their laws and
Yep.
regulations are different. Um,
Yep.
yes. So while you're telling this, I can still hear you, but I'm gonna go use the ladies' rooms quietly because I have to go really, really bad. But I can still hear everything you're saying. So continue breaking on that down so that way the audience can understand really what's going on with that case because a lot of us have been following it more privately, but I'm definitely interested to hear how this is working. So break that down.
Well, I mean, the police got no authority to go into a Native American religious protected location. You know, they got no authority over it. So it's it's something that it's federally recognized when the Native Americans were here way before anyone else came over into this country, and because of that, they've gave them their sacred land. They gave them their different areas, and they've given them their own laws. They're not under American law.
No, exactly. And we even give them a check every month
So
to be
so
here.
how are we gonna govern them under our laws?
We
And,
can't.
and even more than that, under a local ordinance. Under a local ordinance, it's only going to allow so many dispensaries to be anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That has, that really has nowhere. I'm sure that some people are upset, and that's probably why there's been some trouble there. But when it comes down to it, they got the legal right.
No, they
And
absolutely
the
do. And I've been
police,
seeing
the
that in the
police
court
not,
process with
should
their paperwork.
never have messed with them in the first place. Really, once they seen that paperwork, they should have just backed off and never said anything again.
Correct. And
I just
for those of
I
you
just seen something recently where some police, I think that the article said that they're getting suspended now because they went to a park in Detroit, and there was a religious ceremony going on, and they were tapping the maple trees. It's like that season right now, and they had a religious party going on, and they came and they like raided it like it was a raid, and they were kicking all the people out when they were have their sovereignty stuff, and yeah, now there's a whole bunch of uproar on that. The police are like making apologies. The captain of the Detroit police.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that directly, but from what I did just gather, what I could assume is that it sounded like you're not allowed to have like certain types of congregations come together and be considered organized crime or organized this. So whatever their religious belief or whatever they were organizing with their religious belief probably got the attention of the police, but when they were raiding they weren't realizing that they were acting or working under that statute.
Well,
So
the police just didn't care.
no, they
Someone
didn't.
actually recorded it as they said that, and the police just still continued to kick everybody out with the threat that they were going to arrest everybody and had guns out drawn.
Oh, I'm definitely interested to follow that for sure. That's new to me, but I'm definitely going to be looking into that. Um, it's crazy. All
It's
of
an
these,
article I just read yesterday.
yeah, all of these cannabis changes are constant. And I want to be able to help others in long term. I want to be able to provide financial like options.
I,
through my nonprofit to where I could possibly help people provide for cannabis or things like that. But that's longer term. Like we have to continue or be able to do like a delivery service or, I've got so many other plans that are trying to get into motion, but I've got to get the laws caught up to where my goals are
I
because.
got I got a friend that's involved in this really cool stuff that's happening up in the UP.
Okay.
So it's they bought a ski lodge, and this is Native American property, and they're making it into a cannabis vacation area.
Okay.
So they got condos there. They're setting up all sorts of stuff. They're I mean, there's a lot of partners in on it, but they're getting ready to build a casino.
So will that also be cannabis, or will that be on the same property as the cannabis?
Yeah, it's going to be on the same property.
So it'll be like a whole resort.
With the native laws, what they're saying is that what the goal is for them to be able to smoke inside the casino.
Well, yeah, with the native laws, they would because that operates as their own government entity of its own because they have their own laws and justice. Even with their CPS cases, if you're in Indian and you get the Indian check, their laws are different. So I could definitely see how your friend's operation would work in the up north with that. That seems like a great ideal and adventure, and I definitely see that regardless of where the laws move with Michigan, they'll be able to move forth.
Yeah, my friend's just he's a part of it, but it's a tribe that's doing it.
Yeah, definitely. That makes it. That's the Indian stamp. Without the tribe, it wouldn't get the green light. It has to have the tribe's approval and the chief as well. It definitely needs his stamp, or it won't even go further within their laws because the way that their laws operate is really with an order, a chain of command, and it has to go through all of those chains and get all the seals and stamps before anything can be agreed upon with their land as well. And it has to be on their land as well, which is why I was confused on how the guy that we discussed on Telegraph was getting away with that because that's not actually on the Indian land. Even though he's under in that federal grant, he's not actually operating on Indian property. So I thought that's where the technicality was, and that's why they were nitpicking with him because I thought legally, now don't quote me, that you had to be on the Indian property and land in order to operate any of those cannabis entities under your government laws. You had to be on your property that we've technically given you, and or pay you for, or however you want to word that. But if it's not, and it's on public, like city and state land of that's regular civilian land, which is what Telegraph is over there, that's not Indian reserve property. It's not reserved for Indian businesses or entities. How are they able to operate on our land with their laws? That's what I'm confused on.
I'm not sure what they call it, but it's a document that they were granted.
But they did get permission. There's a permission form, a permission slip of some sort, and they've got the sign off on that as well prior.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. I'm really interested then to see how that company grows and excels because I don't think it's going anywhere. And even if people think it does, it keeps popping back up. So they don't think they're going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Something kind of crazy is that there isn't no Native American land in the city of Pontiac, but it's named after a Native American chief.
Okay, and is that over there off of by the lighthouse building over there in that area?
Well, I mean,
or is it off of by the child support office off of Elizabeth Lake in the old historical zone on the west side?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So Chief Pontiac, he was actually, they say, I mean, it was a long time ago when he was. They say he's buried over in Orchard Lake or something.
Okay.
But that's what the city of Pontiac was named after. It was Chief Pontiac. So Chief Pontiac was a really famous Native American Indian.
They do the banking here too with them. When you do your private banking, it's still through the Indian stuff. The Pontiac Chief Bank, that's as well still operated under those rules and laws as well, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know all that much about it. I just remember hearing stories about he was buried over on an island in Orchard Lake when I was younger, but I do know that the city was named after him. So
definitely. Well, I'm interested to see as things expand and as they grow, what's next, and I've got a lot of my own plans that I'm hoping will come forth, and I've been following these laws. I'm hoping that they change as I'm ready to, as I'm developing my stuff and I'm getting everything, together, all the programs, the softwares, all of the connections, everything's coming together, and I'm hoping that, by my launch date that they're ready. Otherwise, I'll have to launch a different entity with that program until the laws catch up. Which I'm prepared to do so. I've already planned all of that as plan A. But my real overall plan is the plan B when the laws catch up, what I want to really convert everything to. And, I really can't do what I want to do yet until Michigan, gets further legal. And I know everyone that hears me from all these other states that I work with are like, what do you mean? You guys got the best agreement so far. You guys are way ahead of everybody else. Girl, we are fighting for this, or we're fighting for the teacup rights, or we're fighting for that. And, not to minute anybody's fights, each is to their own. But I feel like the more further ahead that we get Michigan, the ripple effect will continue to take, because as they're fighting their journeys, they're following the same paths to get to where we got. So if we continue to make the way for them in headway, it'll be easier for them to get to where we are in a shorter time.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely am excited to see how that works, because Michigan, it seems like we are above. Do you know if there's another state that's more advanced other than Colorado and like California with their legal entities where they originated from? But like on the whole medical and legal and like the phases we're in, is there another state that you would consider that's like just as far advanced as us, or head to head with us, or we're kind of like following the same pattern?
Something that I do like out of all the systems out there is Oklahoma. And that's why we're going to be going out to grade the cup out there in September.
Really? I've got several friends out there that run it. My husband
got
wants
something
to go.
similar to the caregiver system that we have here.
It's only $2,500 out there for a license. My husband wants to move out there so bad.
Yep. And it's like more like it's more like a caregiver market, and even with less restrictions, they're actually got a bill. They got two bills that are in that state right now.
Okay.
That are going to be voted on this year, but one of them's trying to regulate everything, just like a lot of these other states are.
So they're trying to change that freedom that we're all wanting to go for.
Yeah,
they're trying to block that.
Close down all the current licensees and open up new licenses. That's what one bill is trying to do. But the other bill, what seems to be getting a lot more attraction from the people, is it's going to make it to where it's like it can be sold at a fruit market.
Okay.
You get sold just
they
like
got those markets in Texas and other places right now. That it's actually called the marketplace.
Yeah, farmers market.
Yeah, and they sell it just like the flea market, and you just walk up and there's tables full of stuff, almost like the cannabis cups and the entities like we've been to here in Michigan. But they do those regularly, and there's not for a cup. There's no judge. It's just where you go and shop, and that's how you actually get your supplies. If you don't have a street guy, you would go to the marketplace and get it, because there are no dispensaries yet. But in Oklahoma, that's a little different. Aren't there dispensaries already out there, from my understanding? So how would that work for them with the markets? If they added the market, wouldn't that be taking away the equity from the dispensaries out there?
Yeah. So right now, the dispensaries and cultivation is more similar to like our caregiver program. So it's probably real deal is probably SkyMint's behind the other bill that would change everything out there. Because that's a big company.
The only way I could see this financially benefiting them is if they're
behind most of the MCMA. Everything with the MCMA.
Well, yeah.
Companies, SkyMint's a big one, and then they got investments in so many of these other companies that are part of it.
Well, I think I could see the way that they can make it a flatline like issue. So basically, let's say I'm bringing in X amount of revenue right now in Oklahoma, doing it through the dispensaries, but I'm paying X amount of taxes, and the taxes on what I pay per dollar per this are very high still when you're purchasing through those regulatory goods. But when you purchase through the local grower or a marketplace or a middleman or the home grows or those entities that would provide to the marketplace, those taxes are completely different. So I could see where, let's say I'm paying you $100 for a half ounce. Well, obviously I'm not gonna be able to sell it for $100 now back to my client, plus I gotta pay you taxes on that. So we're both paying $100, but at the end I'm paying $150 for the half with the taxes and the license and goods, where the other way I'm literally making just $100, like it's even. If you do it through the marketplaces, you're not paying the taxes on it aren't the same. You're still gonna pay taxes on sales later, but the purchases, because you're literally paying taxes on everything that goes through a cannabis business literally like 3 times between when it comes in, when it goes out, and before it comes in and gets distributed. There's like a middleman tax. So when it leaves the one grower, the cultivator, like each phase is its own tax bill. You feel me?
Yeah.
So when you go to the market, you're cutting out all of those other tax bills and percentages. And taxes, when the larger, I mean, we're talking about a half ounce here, but let's say we were talking about 100 pounds here. The number is obviously a big difference. You wouldn't mind paying a couple extra dollars on taxes, so it doesn't really make a difference to you when you're buying it by a half ounce. But when you're buying about 100 pounds, that's the difference from like $200,000 to, you know what I mean, extra that I could be getting away with in every shipment. Why would I want to pay you $200,000 more than what I would pay the market guy and just pay their street value price? Like,
Yeah.
I can see why they're doing it, but they're gonna cut out a lot of the dispensaries.
So,
Like, I don't see how the dispensaries are gonna survive if half of their clients are now going to the street market. Which is why here, that's the same reason why we regulate how many dispensaries, because we don't want the market flooded to where, you know what I mean, between the street people and the dispensary people. And if they've already got all of those dispensaries set up and it's so cheap for the licenses and you can have so much of it, I don't see how they're going to baseline that without putting someone out of business somewhere, because it's not going to be able to teeter totter like on level out correctly, if you get what I'm trying to say, economically.
yeah. But I mean that they kind of did that here too. I mean, all these caregivers were actually given licenses. A medical card is given from the
No,
license
definitely,
department.
but they're not the big companies. So, and that worked out for us. But in Oklahoma, they've been doing this for years with the growing and all the
Yeah,
people at home and doing
but
it the way they're doing it. How when they switch it, they're gonna see an impact, an economic impact one way or another before the positive happens. You're gonna always have a decline before you excel.
yeah,
So
but
the
their system that they currently have right now is more similar to our caregiver system than our
Yeah,
regulations.
so if the caregivers take over the game there, which they're trying to take them out of the game here, you see how that works? They're adding them
Yeah,
there, but removing them from here. But there's a reason we're at the point where they feel they need to
they're not removing them from here. They're trying to,
no,
but
they're trying the goal. So
this,
like,
this, this is something that's really big. Is Detroit was where the union was founded,
yes.
and there's a lot of people who fought for their beliefs up here, and there still is, and cannabis is. I mean, we're gonna fight, the people, the smokers of Michigan are gonna fight against these. I mean, just like we did to get it legal, I mean, people had to vote, people had to come together. Everyone always thought like, hey, that's never gonna happen. People thought that was a dream, or oh, that can't be done. But look at where we're at. It happened.
Oh,
Did
and,
it?
and in the next 10 years, where do you think we'll be?
Yeah.
By then, a robot will be bringing me my marijuana. No, I'm just
Yeah.
hypothetically.
So
With the
so the
whole
best thing
Elon
that
Musk and his artificial intelligent program, he keeps greatly speaking about. I just think I'm laughing because the way that he's trying to expand that, I can only imagine how he's trying to get his hands in the marijuana business and how he could get more robots to do the job there too.
yeah. Yeah. So the biggest thing that we can do to try to fight these bullshit bills is look up who your representative is and send them an email. Make a phone call. Let them know your view. The emails are great because it's documented, and can be read always, and we get
So
millions of people sending emails, and it makes these guys look differently,
yeah, so
because
earlier you mentioned 2 bills that they're trying to put in that we would like to somehow get, our representatives to say no on, obviously, not yes. We don't want them to approve the amendment. If you can get those bills and add numbers, like to me, you know how they have like a number to them and then they have like a
yeah,
link or a website, I could better look at what those are or aren't and
I
then
can
maybe.
get you the links. I believe the Safety Act bills, the first ones were like 55-1, 55-2, and 55-3. The new
Okay.
one that they just entered, I believe is 5512.
Okay, so definitely we want to look those up, and then we want to somehow create some form of literature to spread the word on. And I think if we create literature, it's easier for people to share content that will help spread the word, and the activists that that it resonates with and connects with will come out of the woodwork and do pick up like what they do. But maybe even there's some form of petition, because even if all of them vote yes, there's a way for us to repetition another. Like somehow the people's vote has to count some way or another, somewhere in that formulation. So I
Yeah. So the way that it's structured, it doesn't. But what we gotta do is just let these representatives know, because where it comes down to is we voted these representatives in, and when it comes up for election,
But how do you get the attention of a representative? You can't just pick up the phone. You can't email them. You can't call. You can't go to their
no,
office.
no, you can call them. You can email them. You can contact them
But how do you
anywhere.
know that your
We're
emails
looking.
are going to make change? And how do your emails play a government effective, like in the order of operation for changing the law? It's not the same as a petition. So how would a petition not like? How could we implement a petition to change this, or to vote no, or get enough people to sign the petition? Then we turn it into the Senate, and then we have X amount of
So
votes to wing them,
so I
perhaps.
mean, there's other petitions that people already started. This is something we've been
Okay,
fighting
well,
for a
can
while.
we
So
get
there's
a
a
hold
lot
of
of
some of those
organizations.
informations or links and
So
stuff?
some of those that takes a lot of money and time. Some of those we won't even see introduced till next year. They're trying to get them in this year, but they're still working hard. So at the moment, what we got to do is just try to fight against these ones and wait for other bills to come through that are going to be
No, I
more
totally
in our
agree
favor.
with what you're saying, but what about the petitions that are out there now? If there's already some started that are going around, let's get those links together, and maybe later I can add them in the bio here and we could spread the word, because
Yeah,
I'm not aware
there,
of those petitions myself. And if I was, or had I would be, I would definitely market and advertise those to the fullest, because that's what we really need, is those petitions signed. And I would go gladly for free and try to get signatures
mhm.
like no other.
there is there is a petition that got they got I believe 8,000 signatures or something,
Okay.
but they said that it wasn't really valid.
So how do
So
we resubmit that to make it valid, or is there one that's out there that is valid
so
already?
so the way to do that with a petition is we got to do a new law. So we'd have to enter in a bill in the connoisseur's favor,
Okay,
so
now
that
I've done that with
because
my daughter. Like submitted a bill,
no,
not in the counter sewer department, but we've submitted a bill with the government before, like for an actual school project. Each student had to learn how to write a bill, submit a bill, and wait and see if it was passed or not, and see if they passed one of the ones that one of the kids in the class wrote for a new law. And when we tried to put like a new law in effect, and I helped her like on that project and stuff, and so I did get pretty educated on that process. And it is free if you just fill out all the forms, and anybody can submit a bill and try to create an amendment or a law, or not an amendment, a constitutional, like a, what is that word I'm trying to think. Yeah, your constitutional rights. So you know how it says like the 19th amendment, the 15th amendment, each amendment has like their rights.
hmm
So you can create a new one. I think we were trying to work, I think, on the 16th or 17th amendment or something like that is what they were trying to go for, like the children in the school. Of course, no one picked any of the ones from the kids at school, but it was still the experience that gave them the chance, like the opportunity to realize that they could write their own bill, and try to get it submitted as a law and approved as a, into an act and all of that. So they went through the phases.
in
So
school.
that's not too hard, but we got to make sure it is done right. Is there a petition that we could attach to a new act or law that's already, like you said, the one with the 8,000? Could we use that to attach because it's the same goal, or is there a way to incorporate what's already been done into what's next?
So so I can give you a bunch of information that's already out there that a bunch of groups of people have put together.
Yeah, send
J-
me.
Jamie Lowell and Rick Thompson have got lists together with a lot of different stuff, numbers, emails, all the representatives' information.
Yeah, I definitely want to get them
Even
on
throughout
to
Michigan,
get that to the
and
public.
as it looks right now, that's the best chance that we got for fighting at the current moment with these bills that are introduced. And so supposedly there's some other bills that are doing the exact opposite of the safety bills.
Hmm.
Just the timing on it is going to take some time for it to go through.
Okay.
They said it's possible we might see it by the end of 2022. If not, it'd be early 2023.
Okay, which really, that's not that long. I mean, literally, this year is going by fast, and before you know it, the end of the year will be here, and launch day will be, and signs and petitions, everything like goes into effect.
But emailing and calling your representative is what really helps right now
So,
with
what
it.
type of
'Cause
email are you
this
asking
is
for
this.
people to do? If you could give a prime example of what the email should entail. So, hypothetically, let's say, how would you
I mean,
word that?
you tell the representative your name, where you live, or the city that you live in. You know, you don't gotta give them your actual address if you don't want to, but
Mm-hmm.
just tell them that your name, the city that you live in, and how you feel about it. You know, like I mean, it's
And
you
what
know.
does that do in the long term? So let's say we accumulate, 10,000 of these emails that random people send with a message of how they feel or what they feel about the particular situation. What does that in turn do? What do they legally have to do with those emails? Do
So
they have to address
so
those or not address those? How is
yeah,
explain to me that
yes. I
process?
mean, they legally have to view those. They have to view everything that comes in.
Well,
I
viewing
mean,
is one thing, but what do they do in return with
but,
what
but
you're
they're
requesting?
not required to do anything with it.
Okay, that was
What they see is the numbers, and these are the same people that are voting for them.
yeah. They see what the people
They,
want,
they,
and
they
it
got this position because we had a number of people that believed in them and voted for them.
okay.
That's how they got into be where they're at.
So what we're
Now,
hoping the change of the
when
emails would do would gather enough.
re-election comes up, then that's when there's going to be, I mean, they're not trying to lose all their followings.
No, not only
Once they
that,
see,
but I could definitely
so
see.
what their job is, I know that a lot of them are corrupt, and the politics get in there, and there's money that sways things, but their job is to represent the people. If they're doing their job right, and so
Yeah,
many
so if they
people
want to
reach out
stay
to
in
them.
house or stay as the representative, they're obviously going to want the people's vote. And if a majority of the people are, let's say 500,000 people sent you letters that they want this bill particularly passed, if you don't do anything in your power to pass that or succeed with that, then obviously they're going to, not vote for you now because they're hoping that the next guy behind you will do what they're asking. So if you don't, so maybe, so what you're hoping for is enough of these emails will take place that they'll put into consideration and realize what the people want. If they want to stay in the position they're in house, they would move forward with what the people want versus politics.
Yeah.
Okay, I totally get how it's going to play. I just was trying to understand the cause and effect of the emails and making sure that that was the most efficient way at the moment with the options available to us.
So something that's kind of cool is that I believe it was somewhere around over 2,000 emails that got sent about the safety bills.
Okay, so I'm definitely interested.
So
Yes,
there
I
was a
want.
lot of organizations throughout Michigan that were pushing for months and pushing for the emails and email your rep, and then they're doing the education thing too. It's where they did the dinner. They brought a bunch of these representatives out. They showed them all the science behind cannabis, all the details, and all the facts about how cannabis has never killed anybody. Like there's just so much stuff. All the health benefits, so many different things that can just need to be seen from a different view.
Yeah,
If
it
you only
definitely
hear one
sounds
person,
like we got to spread the word on what other people have
if
going
you only
on.
hear one person's side of the story, it can be total bullshit. But if you don't hear the other person's side of the story, you're never going to be able to decipher whether it's the truth or it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear the other side of the story, then you can kind of decipher between the two on what's really right and what's really wrong. And that's kind of like what a lot of them are doing. That are not the ones that are not corrupt and already making decisions because they got paid. But the ones that are really doing it for the people, they're weighing what's good and what the people want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so those would be definitely the representatives that care about the people's opinion. That we would want to target and make sure that they're aware of what our opinions are and that we get our opinions across to them. so they can help us. So I'm interested to see in the future where everything goes, and I want to do like a follow up with you in the future and just see continuing what you're going through and what's going on and like where your show is going and where everything is, and how like how your TV show that you're talking about launching and everything goes, and stay connected, for sure. Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, we could probably wrap it up. Do you have anybody? I know you said you have a long list of people that you want to give a thank you or support to. If you just kind of want to give a general one and maybe tell people where they can find you one last time, and what websites or .coms again, and then we can end it from there.
Okay. Judge Strains from the World 3 Judges. You can find me on Instagram at Judge_Strains, on Facebook at Judge Strains. And we'd like to give a thanks and a shout out to anyone that's entered in any of our competitions, come to any of our events, did anything that we were a part of. We appreciate it.
Okay. Sorry about that. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you taking your time out for me. And you said your next event was where?
The
Earlier?
next event's gonna be in Detroit that I'm going to.
Okay, and when is that? What month? I think you said September.
Oh no, I mean we're gonna. There's events nonstop, so there's 4 events there's 5 events next month.
Okay, so if you want, I'll definitely include your link so people could follow those events.
Then in between them 5 events that I'm gonna be going to, I'm also gonna be traveling to go grade a Missouri Cup.
See, that's amazing. I definitely want to share and follow your journey, and I definitely am excited to continue to see you grow as a judge, and make your way up and continue to take chairs out the way and take over the game in the judge world.
Thanks.
I support. All right, well, I appreciate you coming on, and until next time, everyone, thanks for joining the 420 Smoke Room. I know this show was a little longer than normal, but we really got into some very good topics and some local things, long distance things, big things, state things. We broke down quite a bit, and I had an awesome time, and I look forward to all of you joining us again. Thank you. I will talk to you all later, including you. Bye.
Mm-hmm.